All right, ever feel like you're drowning in a sea of stuff at work? Emails, reports, meetings, like when does it end?
Oh, tell me about it. It's like we need a whole extra day just to handle the, what do they call it, administrative burden.
Yes. And it's not just us, right? This book, Six Simple Rules by Yves Morieux, it calls out this whole mess as complicatedness. We're diving into that today using this really sharp summary and review from So Brief, so we'll get to the good stuff fast.
It's a good one.
Okay.
Anyone dealing with organizations,
Yeah.
the chaos, it's going to resonate.
Totally. And it starts with this distinction between complexity, which is fine, like a puzzle, and complicatedness, which is the enemy.
Right. Complexity, you can wrap your head around it. There's a solution.
Yeah.
Complicated is, it's like just adding more problems on top of problems.
Perfect analogy. Like, complexity is a tough crossword. Complicatedness is when someone spills coffee on it and then rips it in half.
And then tries to make you do it in the dark.
Yeah.
And you know what? The book says managers spend something like 40–60% of their time in meetings just trying to untangle the mess.
The worst. We've all been there. But what I like about this book is it goes beyond just complaining. It's like, okay, people are acting in ways that seem crazy, but what's the why behind it?
Exactly. It's about understanding the context, right? Like, what are their goals? What resources do they have? What's holding them back?
It's like, that time I got annoyed at a coworker for being late with a report, but turns out their system crashed and they lost everything.
Been there. And suddenly, it's not about blame anymore. It's about, okay, how do we fix this system so it doesn't happen again?
So true. It's like the book is giving us permission to be less judgmental and more like detective-y.
Exactly. We need to figure out the why if we want to fix the how. And that's where these integrators come in.
Ooh, yeah. The secret weapon against chaos. Who are these magical beings?
Well, not magical, exactly. The book says they're often the ones most frustrated with how clunky things are. They see the need for change.
Okay, so everyone listening, think about your workplace, who's always got ideas, who's pushing for better. That might be your integrator.
Exactly. And the best way to empower them. Often it's about removing obstacles, rules, procedures, even some management roles.
Hold up, did you just say get rid of management? Now you're speaking my language.
Well, not all of it. But the book makes a case for streamlining, for giving people more autonomy, more power to actually get things done.
Because real power isn't about your title, right? It's about your ability to influence, to make an impact.
Exactly. And Six Simple Rules flips the script on power dynamics. It's not a zero-sum game. We can actually increase the total amount of power in an organization.
Okay, you've got my attention. How do we actually increase the power, though? Does everyone get a promotion?
Huh. I wish. No, it's about connecting people's work to something meaningful.
Yeah.
Making sure everyone understands how their piece fits into the bigger picture and giving them the power to actually make decisions about that piece.
So no more feeling like a cog in a machine. I like it.
Exactly. It's about tapping into that intrinsic motivation, the desire to contribute to something bigger than ourselves. And that brings us to another big idea from the book, rich objectives.
Rich objectives. Sounds fancy. Like, are we talking gourmet goals here?
Kind of. It's about setting goals that encourage people to work together, where their success is interdependent. They need each other to succeed.
Okay, I think I get it. So instead of everyone just off doing their own thing, it's more like, I don't know, a sports team.
Perfect example. Everyone has their own role to play, but they're all working towards a shared outcome, winning the game. And Six Simple Rules breaks these rich objectives into 3 parts.
Hit me with it.
So first you have the collective output objectives, basically the big overarching goal. Then there are the individual input objectives, what each person specifically contributes to get there. And here's the key, overlap objectives.
Overlap objectives. That sounds like where the magic happens.
Exactly. This is about supporting each other, breaking down silos. Instead of, that's not my job, it's, how can I help us all succeed?
Love it. But how do we make sure everyone's actually thinking long term? Everything's so fast-paced these days. How do we extend that shadow of the future, as the book calls it?
Right, make the future feel more real.
Yeah.
Well, one way is tightening feedback loops. So instead of waiting for yearly reviews, give feedback more often, directly relating it to those bigger objectives.
Makes sense. Keep those goals top of mind. What else?
Bring the endpoint forward. If it's a long project, break it down into smaller milestones, celebrate the small wins along the way.
Keep some momentum going, right? Like a progress bar you actually want to see move.
Exactly. And then there's linking futures together. Tie rewards to team performance, or publicly acknowledge those who go above and beyond to help others.
So make it clear that cooperation pays off.
Yes, and one more. Make people walk in the shoes they make for others.
Ooh, that one sounds deep.
It's about understanding the impact of your actions on others. Like, if you create a process that makes someone else's job harder, go see that firsthand. Empathy through experience.
Powerful stuff. It's like that saying, before you judge someone, walk a mile in their shoes. But this is more like before you design a workflow, do a week in their cubicle.
Exactly. And speaking of recognizing contributions, what about that whole employee of the month thing? Does that really screen teamwork?
Right. Feels kind of counterintuitive to this whole we're in this together idea.
The book agrees. It's about shifting from rewarding just individual performance to rewarding cooperation itself. Evaluate people on their willingness to help, to be transparent about problems, to focus on those shared goals.
It's like we're rewiring the whole system to reward the stuff that actually makes teams work, right? Instead of just those individual, like, hero moments.
Exactly. It's
Yeah.
about recognizing that most of the time, success is a group effort. And that means valuing the things we don't always see in a performance review.
Right. Like, did you go out of your way to help a teammate? Did you speak up when you saw a problem? Those are the things we should be celebrating.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it all comes back to that idea of smart simplicity that the book talks about.
Oh, yeah. I love that part. Such a good phrase.
Right. And it's not about pretending the world is simple, because it's not. It's about using these 6 rules, these principles, to design systems that actually work with human nature, not against it.
Instead of just putting a Band-Aid on a bullet wound, we're like, let's not get shot in the first place.
Exactly. And sometimes the best solutions are the simplest ones.
Small changes, big impact. So for our listeners who are like, okay, I'm convinced, where do I start? What's one thing they can take action on today?
Get curious about why people do the things they do. Don't assume, ask questions. Try to see things from their perspective, their context, their goals, their challenges. That's where it all begins.
Love that. And this whole conversation has got me thinking, this smart simplicity, what if we applied it to like everything, our personal lives, our communities?
Now, that's an interesting thought. Imagine the possibilities.
Right. Okay, I'm going to be thinking about that for a while. Well, this has been a truly insightful deep dive. Thanks so much for joining us and sharing your wisdom on 6 simple rules.
My pleasure. Always happy to talk about this stuff.
And listeners, we hope this deep dive has given you some new tools to navigate complexity and maybe even simplify your work life. Until next time, keep on learning and keep it simple.